I've come to talk to you tonight about Anonymous and Occupy Wall Street. And I also want to talk about the great hippie fail. I feel that I may be qualified to talk about hippies, because, well, I'm a hippie. As a matter of fact, a bunch of my friends in high school, were listening to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and we just wanted peace, and we started to grow our hair long. And, 18 months later, I think Time magazine called us hipsters, right? And then Life magazine, which was a big thing because it had pictures back then, they called us hippies. And the name kind of stuck, So, yeah, we were there before there were hippies, right? And a lot of things that I want to say. One is that there's a freak out, that's going on with the media and political types, that you're all running a leaderless revolution. And it freaks them out, because they need a leader, they need somebody to pen it on to say who's right and who's wrong, and who's good and who's bad, right? And so for there to be no leader, this, is dangerous territory for people who want something concrete, to begin to walk into. But the genius of the leaderless revolution is that everybody is free to have a voice. This is what democracy looks like. Everybody is free to have a voice. So I encourage a leaderless revolution where everybody is free to have a voice, because after all, everyone is an existence, and everyone does have a point of view from the root of their experience. And the only reason we divide people up and say, well, this experience is better than that experience, is so that some experiences can feel justified and entitled to make more money than other experiences. Right? Now, they're supposed to be rewarding the best and the brightest, but I kind of wonder whether, the bullies that we met in school, haven't taken over the kingdom, because I've seen from underneath, right, that they don't always reward the best and the brightest. I mean, they'll pick one guy like Steve Jobs, and they'll go, there he is, he's the greatest, and they'll throw money at him because they're Wall Street and they're gambling and they got to throw money at, the greatest, and he becomes the greatest, right? Like a Michael Jackson. But there's nobody else. Like nobody else, you're barred from entry, and so opportunity is, cut off from you. Merge two companies together, what Wall Street does, and then they fire, half the workers, and they make the other half work twice as hard to put out, the same or more productivity. That's what they do. They've been doing it for years, and it's a heartless mentality. Basically, it becomes a heartless mentality. If you ask any 5-year-old or 7-year-old, is the planet, what do you think about the planet? Just what do you think about Earth? They'll tell you, oh, Earth is in trouble. We got to take care of it. They've only been here 5 to 7 years, and they already know. For 5 to 7 years of experience of age, they know, hey, the Earth is in trouble. We need to take care of it. And you know who they are? Those 5-year-olds and 7-year-olds, those little guys that run around. They are our future. And when you see, a bunch of young people sitting in a park saying, I'm $20,000, $30,000 in debt, and I have no for my education, and I have no prospects of, a future. You have seen a system that has destroyed its own future. Of course, it's obsolete. What is that system? That system is a pyramid system where everything comes from the top, the trickle down. It comes from the top. And the top, the supposed best and the brightest, they're sheltered by all their yes men who tell them yes to everything. Every PowerPoint presentation they show them, they go, oh yes, we'll do it. Right. And anything that goes against that is purged, from the top down. And everybody gets instructions from the top down that this can happen, and that is that's not what we're doing. Right? So a leaderless revolution replaces that pyramid of top down with a network that is actually happening live on Twitter, on a live stream, on Ustream, on Justin TV. Live occupying spaces. Because guess what, people? Even hippies have to occupy a space. That's what we do as people on this planet. As conscious beings on this planet, we occupy this space. That's why, years ago I chose to be a hippie and try to occupy this space in peace and love, right? And, other people probably saw it as a game. They must have seen it as a game because life wound up being all about how much money you had. And if you had more money than me, then you were important, for me to talk to. And if you had less money than me, I couldn't, money talks and, bullshit walks. That was the mentality only a very few years ago. And by occupying the future, you've changed that mentality. It can't continue. It's beginning to unravel. Now, the reason I wanted to talk to you right now is because we have the capability, and I'm not saying this as a leader, I'm saying this as one voice. We have the capability in our lifetime to change the idea of money. Now, you look at money, you study money, you look at the history of money, you look at fractional reserve, you look at the Fed, central banks, the role they play, and you'll see that it's a game. Basically, it's a game. And that game, has gone totally out of whack because it has put all the benefits on the private investors, on the private sector, and all the risk, and all the downfall on the public sector. That's what it's trying to do. And it can't survive like that because we are the 99%. What you do impacts us. And it's not that we're stupid. And it's not that we're not the best and the brightest. There's probably 30 guys right now who are Bill Gates, stuck there right in Microsoft, working for Microsoft on the campus in Seattle. I bet you there's 30 guys just like Bill Gates that are genius guys, but they can't get a break from the corporate idiots, who have this what are your goals? What is your purpose? Show me the PowerPoint presentation. So, what we do is we Twitter them back the existence, what we all live through. We have a chance to change the idea of money. All money is created as debt, and debt only creates suffering. You're in debt, you're a slave. Debt is slavery. And yet, if you use money, it's only debt that you're using. You look, you've got $100 bill, that's $100 in debt, $110 in debt probably by the time, and there's not the extra $10 to pay it back. There's only the $100. Now, there's some good things about fractional reserve. One of the things that's good about it is that it creates money out of thin air. It believes in you, essentially, and says, you have a business plan, you're going to have a pizza shop, you're going to make great pizzas, and you figured out the clientele and the advertising budget, and okay, you're good to go. I'll invest in you, And that's a risk, It's a risk. There's many factors that weigh in on that risk. But if people don't believe in each other and people don't support each other, the risk of failure, the curve, it goes way off the curve, the risk of failure. Oh, yeah. What the bankers did is they tried to insure themselves against the risk and make sure that you paid, the taxpayers paid, for their risk. It's gambling with everybody's future. And it's gambling for a lot of things. Speculators, look up speculation, and you'll see what it gambles for. And you'll see why the cost of everything is, so much. But we're taking things out of the planet and we're not giving anything back. We're taking things out of the middle class and we're not giving anything back. We are sucking the land dry and we're not giving anything back. And, we're expecting what? Anybody's idea that population explosion is the problem and that you've got to go kill people, to solve the problem. Anybody who thinks like that is a Nazi. It's like the children of Cain. I'm not my brother's keeper. Anybody who thinks like that. So, if we're going to redefine money as something other than debt, okay, we might think of redefining money as a trust. I give you money, trusting that you will use this money wisely and bring me a part of the abundance, right? Now you go and you plant a little tomato plant and you're going to grow tomatoes. And, chances are you'll have more tomatoes than your own family can eat. And so you'll take those tomatoes and you'll go down to, the market and you'll sell your tomatoes and you'll buy, blankets for the winter. Nobody ever wants to stop that. There's nobody that I know of that's saying stop that. What they're saying is life is not a game and the market is not to be gambled with. The market is something that you invest in with a purpose to create a better future and to show the 5-year-old and the 7-year-old, hey, we're cleaning up the planet. Hey, we're creating a better future. Hey, we understand peace, brings a dividend. And war, when you take a $250,000 missile and you blow something up, you just lost $250,000. And if it's all debt, you're in debt. We have the legal means. We have the political means. We have the wisdom, collectively as a network that wants to empower every single node on the network. It doesn't want to be, Donald Trump. It wants, to serve its purpose on a network as one voice, speaking and communicating, around the network. You take the Federal Reserve, which is owned by private banks, bankers, basically, and you say, this is public. The privacy of privately held means that all the risk goes to the taxpayer and all the reward goes to those who hold private shares. And it's a heartless mentality. You can tell because it's destroying the planet and it's, putting pressure on the workers to work for nothing and to become slaves. It's a heartless mentality. You look at nature, if you're a biologist, and you realize that all of nature just about has a pulse. There's got to be heart, in our interactions with each other on this network. That's what's totally lacking in the pyramid. If you make money a trust, I trust you with this. You have a good idea. I trust you. And you will bring me an abundance, right? And you'll bring up an abundance and you'll share that abundance. That empowers the world. That empowers everybody, from the root all the way up. And they haven't done that. They don't trust you because you don't deserve the money, because you don't have any idea. But they don't have any idea either. They find one guy, and they go, you're the greatest. We worship you. You're the best, until that guy goes, and then they got to find another guy. And then, oh yeah, you're the best. Meanwhile, nobody else gets a shot. It's all ego driven. It's all driven by how much money, you have. Because if you don't have money, you're not important. But if you do have money, then, I should look up to you. But on a network, where everybody's equal, what's important is your idea. Do you have an idea that is sustainable, that will last into the future? Or you have just some fleeting, intuition or something, or opinion, that's spread over false news, to get people all riled up, and never tell them the truth. A fiat currency is a fiat currency, and when nobody believes in it anymore, it's not a currency. And my people, we used to trade with beads and feathers, and they had more value than paper money, because the beads and feathers were spiritual things that we found along our path. They had meaning. A piece of paper, this is like, well, I put in this many hours doing this job, so I'm worth this, and it's a denial of human worth and human value. So I would encourage Wall Street and Main Street and all the banks to begin to think about investing in good ideas anywhere you can find them, sustainable ideas. And if you can't do that, you become extinct. Really. We've got to change money from being a debt to being a trust. It's a trust. You're entrusted with this. And as you are entrusted with this, come back to me and tell me, you did good. Or tell me some disaster happened. A tornado happened, you got wiped out. We're all here for each other on the network. In the pyramid, only the top gets to survive, and the rest of us, we're the population explosion that they want to get rid of. Right? Speak your ideas, as a point on the network that has something to say that's valid, and that's worth it. whether the news media can comprehend, or not, it doesn't matter. If you have a valid idea, speak it, and see what happens, right? Because we will show them that the real wealth of this country is in good ideas. We have good ideas. And it's not just, the one that they choose to anoint and create all these barriers to entry for everybody else. There's only one Godfather's Pizza, people, right? And yeah, there's competition. Why aren't there 3 million different kinds of pizza? How come? We're too stupid to grok 3 million different kinds of pizza on the internet? If everyone is allowed to be the same, equal rights, human rights for all humans. Who didn't get the memo? Human rights for all humans. If you want to give some humans less rights, that's inhuman. So the great hippie fail. Yeah, I've got to end this. The great hippie fail was that we went off to work on ourselves, right? Because you can't change the outside unless you change the inside. That was a great hippie fail. Actually, it wasn't a failure, But at the time being, we left the table. We stopped protesting. We stopped, some of us tried to work within the system to change the system. That didn't work. Because when you have a corrupt system, at the top, the only things that you can do is rearrange, deck chairs on a Titanic down at the bottom. It's the only thing you can do. So you have to get rid of corruption everywhere. It just becomes a bad idea, and we don't like it on Facebook, and we don't like it in the streets, and we don't like it wherever we occupy. It's a bad idea. Corruption is not a good idea. It's not a sustainable way forward. And the great hippie fail was that, we allowed corruption to flourish. We got bamboozled by it. I don't know. Maybe it was that corruption that killed Kennedy or Colosio in Mexico. And it's certainly killing people today, in Syria and Bahrain and Yemen and even Egypt tonight, And these are, valid human beings on the network that we lost. Peace, brothers. Occupy.